Yeah, I'm not sure how many of our listeners, I'm not sure how many listeners we have, but I'm also not sure how many of them listen to Primus.
Definitely a Venn diagram of busy listeners and Primus.
But we, I saw them back in 2015. They were coming through town and they played at the Strand Theater, which was a very odd venue for a rock show, but it was also an odd show because they were doing their Willy Wonka tour, where they literally did the soundtrack for Willy Wonka for the first set, took a break, and then came back and did their hits, Mm-hmm. And so one of the, local musicians, John Hoffman, their drummer quit about 6 months ago. Primus drummer did. So they did this big national 6,000 people audition, sent in videos. Well, John Hoffman, who's a local musician here in Shreveport, audition was one of the dozen or so that they flew out there, and he actually got the gig and is about to go on tour with them. And I've reached out to John a few times to be on the podcast and share the story, and he hasn't responded. So we need our Busy Smalls family to get behind us here. This is our official campaign to get John to come in and talk about his Primus journey thus far.
I can anticipate a groundswell, a real movement coming off of this. That's it's going to motivate John to come in and talk with us, number one, because who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
And then now that he's in a touring, very famous band,
hey, just bring the whole band in here. Let's just let him play a set like they do on the Howard Stern show.
Oh wow, like Tiny Desk.
Yeah,
we're going to Tiny Desk. But
it is cool though because we're talking about small business, and it's very few people make a living off music.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so to have someone who is a professional musician and now, grinding for years and years and years and now get a prominent position in a well-known band, it's pretty cool.
It's a great success story.
Success story.
I don't know John, but I know people who know him.
Yeah.
And they say that he is a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And super talented. You can tell that by watching his videos. Local success story.
Yeah. Well, once he's on here, let's not share too much about him. He has to come share.
Right. But he is probably going to wonder why your mom won't stop direct messaging him.
Yeah.
From here on out.
Yeah. Let's hit him up. Yep. Campaign.
Yeah.
Before he goes on tour.
That's right. Busies. What do we call the busy listeners? They gotta have a nickname. Swifties or something.
Yeah.
We'll have to come up with that. And maybe if you've got an idea for that, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. What would you like to be called? Business. So one of the books that shifted my mind, my kind of framework on leadership was a book called Good to Great. And it is a, classical book. Not classical book, but it's just like if you're going to name top 10 business books, most people are probably going to have that in their list, right? Yep. Good to Great. And obviously he has this analogy of the bus, right? The right people being on the bus, and some people need to be taken off the bus,
Some people need different seats on the bus.
Yes. Different seats on the bus. Mm-hmm. Some people might need to be ran over by the bus. Not sure if he goes there. But one of the great things about that book is they're really compiled the data from that book from looking at thousands of companies, right? Mm-hmm. And successful, not successful, what made them successful, not successful, and they kind of boil it down. Well, one of the concepts that he talks about in this book is the hedgehog concept. And, he talks about how every day the fox is out to get the hedgehog, and the fox is tricky, right? You think of like the Wile E. Coyote, right? Mm-hmm. From the Roadrunner. Cunning, always different tricks and ways to get this hedgehog. Mm-hmm. However, the hedgehog responds the same way every time, right? and curls up and defends itself by doing the same thing. No matter what the fox is trying to do, the hedgehog has the same response. And so this hedgehog effect really, or this analogy is, how is your business if the hedgehog effect of your business? And it's this idea of really identifying or this self-awareness or this business awareness of your identity as a business that propels you to do the same thing over and over to be successful. So you got your little Venn diagram you drew.
It's poorly drawn, but as I was going back to research this for the 5 minutes that I watched on YouTube, I was reminded about this chapter because I have read Good to Great. It's a great book. Mm-hmm. And I was reminded about this chapter, and I believe it comes from this concept comes from an ancient Greek fable that says the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing, something like that.
Cool.
Lost in translation. But essentially it's to help businesses, and then this can also apply to individuals, understand what I would call like what's their sweet spot. And as a business, what is your sweet spot? And it comes down to 3 separate concentric circles that overlap.
Yes.
Or some would say a Venn diagram.
Yes.
What are those 3 circles?
Let's see here. So the 3 questions, one is, what can we be the best in the world at? And you can make this personal. You can talk about your business. You can talk about it on an individual level as far as employees and what their roles are. What can you be the best in the world at? Or what can your business be the best in the world at? Going through this, and it's probably partly because I like to eat bad food, but I think of Canes, right? Hey, let's have a campaign to get him on here too, right?
Yeah.
He's a Louisiana guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We support his small business.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Canes, but this concept of, if you know anything about his story, about how he, wrote his final paper in one of his classes, marketing at LSU
business school.
But about doing this restaurant that only does chicken fingers, and he got like a C or something on the paper. That will never happen, right? And that's what they do, right? They say, hey, we're going to do one thing and do it really well, and they do it well.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
They do.
Some would say they're the best in the world at it.
They got to be in the top 3, right?
Yeah.
I would give them that.
Yeah. The second question: what are we passionate about? That kind of goes back. We had Howard on and just talking about this passion or this sense of urgency that really has to drive the organization. And very few people get really passionate. Like are we going to dig into these questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the next one, the third one is, what are the key economic indicators that we should be focusing on? So, a dashboard, if you will, or scoreboard. What are the needles that need to move that we should be focusing on to know if we're succeeding as a company? So it's really this concept of simplicity, right? I'm self-aware enough now to know that I have a lot of ideas and I should not act on all of them, right?
Powerful.
But I used to try to do all of them, right?
Powerful self-awareness.
Yeah, I used to have a new idea every day and try to implement it. And it was just a distraction from what I could do well, or what I was passionate about.
Right.
It was just, and so it's really this simplicity kind of business awareness or self-awareness, and it's growing in one direction. So that's really what this is. What is your identity? So
I think this is a helpful tool. I think it is not a quick fix tool. So I've been thinking about that a little bit. If you're an individual and you're plotting your life out, say you're getting out of high school or whatever, this would be a good thing to put in front of somebody to say, hey, listen, okay, so if you're going to plot your life out, you're going to want to think about these 3 questions and trying to find the sweet spot. So number 1, what are you passionate about, right? Well, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I would love to play music all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my dream, right? deeply passionate about that. However, if I look at the other circles in terms of what can I be the best of the world at, maybe not the best of the world. And then what are the economic drivers? I don't really have a real economy behind what I would like to do in music. So as I'm heavily passionate about it, it certainly checks one of those boxes. The other two, it's just not as strong. So in terms of maybe how I want to spend my spare time, I think I've got great answers for that. Yeah. But to put together like the sweet spot in my life, maybe that's not the right answer. I know that sounds, harsh to some people out there with the dream of being a painter, but only a few people can do that, right? Yep. So I think we all have to look at where our sweet spot is. What are you passionate about? What can you be the best at? The best at's a tough one. I've heard somebody else say, what are you encoded for? Like, what are you gifted around? Yeah. And then lastly, what are the key economic drivers that make that all happen? Yeah. So, I have friends who are brilliant artists, designers, graphic designers. They put that talent to work for, a big marketing company. And it's not, when I talk to them, it's not what they love to do. They sometimes feel like it's like factory work, where it's just like stamping things out, pushing things out. But to have a modern life, they have to find that sweet spot. They have to find what works with what they're passionate about, what are they encoded for, and then lastly, what is going to move the needle, and be an economic driver and provide value for others. So, if you're coming out of high school and you didn't know what you were going to do, and somebody laid this in front of you, how helpful do you think that would be?
Well, what I tend to see, and this is my own experience, and I see this a lot, especially business entrepreneurs, very rarely do they know when they're 18, like, hey, this is what I want to go do. It might happen. Some people might have that dream for their whole childhood, and then they do that. But, I'm not going to the moon. I wanted to be an astronaut. That didn't happen.
Man, well, maybe at one point. You out of that.
Yeah, I just kept growing.
I'm sorry.
I outgrew that dream.
Right.
Physically.
Yeah.
But no, that, I was probably close to 30 before I say I really grew up, right? Yeah. And like knew, hey, this is fulfilling to me, and this is what I need to be doing. And this is not fulfilling to me. So I think that some of it is just kind of trial and error. But yeah, I think it's a good lens to look through. And I remember my mom coming to me, my senior year of high school and being like, hey, so like, what are you going to major in? Like, what are you going to do? Trying to help. And I'm just like, I don't even know. I think I just went to college and signed up for courses like based off the schedule. I had no plan.
Yes.
Right. It was like, that class is too early. We're not doing that one. It was like, okay, well, these classes fit my schedule and these classes would get me this degree. So that's what I'm doing. Right. Yeah. That's what I did. Yeah. So yeah, obviously we do have to make a living. And so sometimes we're just working, but I think to me, it's more of here's the way I look at this is that there are so many businesses that have success that have no identity. And if you're successful and you don't know what the answer to these three questions, then a lot of times you peek behind the curtain and it's just chaos, right? There's burnout, there's confusion, there's, inner turmoil with leadership and managers. There's turnover with staffing, right? And a lot of it's because there's not a clear picture of these questions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that's almost to me is like, man, I look at these questions and my first thought is, what do I need to stop doing? What are we doing that is not serving our passion or hitting our economic indicators? And we just need to cut it out, right? Yeah. And then kind of realign. And so I think that's the lens that when I look at this, it's kind of like what big moves need to happen. And you're right. Answering these questions is not something you see fruit from right away.
Yeah. And it takes you a long time.
Yeah.
Because think about it, you know what you're passionate about, right? But you don't know where you're going to be able to bring real value to the community or to the market. What you can be the best at or what you're encoded for, you're kind of always figuring that out. Like if I ask you right now, like what are you the best at? What do you think?
I'm probably the best at visionary type stuff. Mm-hmm. Just kind of seeing, hey, if we do this, this is what the next 3 years is going to look like.
Yeah.
Or if we don't do this, this is, to our detriment, what the next 3 years will look like.
Yeah.
So I can kind of just see down the road.
And there's a lot of people that just don't operate that way. They don't. Yeah. That's not part of their gifting or encoding, whatever you want to call it.
And so I think that's where, and that's why my concept or my thought process of having partners has changed. Right. Because I always wanted to just do it myself. I didn't want partners. I heard the horror stories of partnerships, you're getting screwed over, money, they used to be friends. Now they're not friends, or they were family and now they hate each other. Right. Yeah. And you hear those stories. But there's only, for me to be in my sweet spot, I have to have other people around me that don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to be partners with other visionaries.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Does that make sense? I can be friends with them, and I can love going to lunch with them and sharing my ideas. But if there's two visionaries and there's nobody, the word that you use is integrating, right? If there's no integrator, I mean, that's a mess.
It's going to be tough.
That's going to be tough.
A lot of vision, not a lot of execution.
Yeah. So I think that it's almost, so then whenever you kind of take these questions and you're looking at like a macro level, like your organization as a whole, but then on a micro level, right? Then what are the three answers to these questions to me that I can be doing? And then of course you boil it down to the controllables, right? Ultimately. And so that's it. And so I'm kind of going through a season of clarity right now and making some business decisions and moves and strategically to where I can, because I'm identifying areas where I'm out of my sweet spot and it's not enjoyable. I mean, I can do it, but it's not where I want to be. So if I'm 70% in my sweet spot and visionary and scaling and growth, what do I need to do to get to 90%?
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I don't know, man. It's tough because this, like I mentioned, it's not a fix-all. It's, if there was anything in the world that was going to say, Leighton, this is exactly what you're supposed to do in life, we would all be using it. Everybody would use it. Yeah. That thing does not exist. Yeah. So I do have to poke some holes because, that's what I like to do with any kind of ideas, interrogate it and look at it from different dimensions. Sure. And so when I look at this idea, I think, well, this is not foolproof. This is not going to make you a billionaire. Yeah. But it can be helpful. It can be helpful for your business to sit and look at this and say, where do we actually bring value to the market? Mm-hmm. Is it here or is it here? Because it might not be here. Yeah. We may be wasting our time, spinning our wheels, being burned out, chasing something that's really not who we should even try to be. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where, a couple things. One, we can't have this idea that the perfect scenario is ever achievable, right? I mean, there is no point of arrival, right? And so we can't say, well, if only I get to this place, or if only I could get rid of this employee, or if only I get this promotion, now everything's going to be great. And it's not, right? I mean, we have to find Steve Jobs' famous quote, the joy is in the journey. That's where we have to find our joys. Like this stuff is, and so a lot of times we can be paralyzed by, well, this is such a big daunting thing to make these changes or to make this move or to do this thing. But that's the exciting part to me. Yeah. Right. And then, I had another thought. I lost it. Well, what I was going to say too is think of some bad business decisions you have made, right? Have there been any? Just a few? Two. Okay. I feel like if this lens was there, right, and we were asking these questions, it's going to avoid a lot of those. It would. Right. And so it's like, I'm not making this move or this decision because there's an opportunity. I'm making this move or decision because it fulfills these questions. Yep.
That's a great point. So I take a recent decision that we've made, and it's not going the way I want it to go. And that's because as I'm staring at these circles, I'm realizing, that it was an opportunity, but I didn't process it through this lens of, are we encoded for this? Can we be the best at this? Can we bring value? Yeah. Are we passionate about it? Enough. But can we be the best at it? And so what I have to do now is go back to like square one and say, I'm going to learn this business like nobody else. I'm going to go seek out great coaching. Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to help them inform how to be the best at this, because I'm not going to do it if I can't be great at it, because that kills me more than anything. I hate letting people down, and I hate, basically saying we want to do business with you. At the end of it, it's like, that wasn't great. Mm-hmm. Now that happens all the time because this is just the nature of things. But I realize that I'm passionate about wanting to be great at it. Mm. And I have not been that yet. I've just been sort of like, oh yeah, just let it happen. We'll see where it goes. Realizing now that that's a terrible way to approach this. It's a terrible way to go about it. Yeah.
And, and then I would press into, I have a little bit of a different view, because I don't have the eagerness to go and become an expert at a new thing. I want to partner with that expert.
There you go.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, people are, they're like, oh, you own a roofing company? I'm like, yeah, I've never even been on a roof. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll inspect your roof if you have dormers and I can look out of an upstairs window. Yeah. They're called dormers.
Yeah.
What else? Uh-huh. Yeah. Let me go up to the upstairs bedroom and look out. I'll inspect your roof that way. I'm not getting on a ladder. Plumbing company, like, there's just things I'm not an expert at. Right. And there's this idea for me is like, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I don't want to.
Can you hook up the supply line to your toilet?
With the YouTube?
Thank you for your honesty.
Well, it also helps that, my brother can do everything, right? He was the older child. Yeah. So on Saturdays, he was helping my dad while I was playing video games, right? So he knows how to do it all.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I don't need a boat. I need to know someone with a boat, be friends with them.
Well, and there you go. So the move on that would be, I'm going to partner with somebody who can be great at this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's just, but, there is an idea of this security, right? Because that does put you at a risk, because this person could not work out or go become your competitor.
Absolutely.
And so there is a risk there that you have to kind of weigh. Yeah. Right. And so that comes down to, and so I always just put the pressure on myself with my technicians, if you're talking about the E-Myth, right? The technician who's doing the field work or overseeing the team that knows the roofing or the plumbing. Well, I'm putting the pressure on myself to be like, well, what can I do to add enough value where that's not even a thought that they would want to go and do something else?
Yeah.
Right. You put the pressure on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that there was last year, maybe the federal government made non-competes like illegal, right? Did you ever see that?
They were talking
something
about
like that,
yeah.
And it's kind of sucks, right? Because it does, as a business owner, kind of puts you in a risk spot, but then it also puts this pressure on you that you have to up your value so that nobody wants to go,
Yeah, the non-compete thing. I don't
think it ever worked in Louisiana.
I don't either. Yeah. I don't think it
ever held up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had them signed, but
if somebody really pushed up against non-compete, I don't think it would hold.
No.
So that said, you have to, it's like somebody I heard one time say, we don't have unions a lot in the South, unions and what we do. Mm-hmm. And she said, you need to run your business like a union exists. Mm-hmm. And so it's always made me think, but it's the same way with non-compete. It's like, run it in such a way where you don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that just on a broad concept, these questions really do help. It's like, and I can think of organizations that just do so much stuff that, and like I said, they're successful. But even I was talking to somebody in the community the other day, they just said, so-and-so brought this to my attention that somebody wanted to sell their company. And I took a look at their books and it's just chaos. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And that's typically a reflection of a business not knowing their identity and just having too much going on,
And I can't speak to the big boys out there that are doing it, but you would think for these big companies, that's what drives a lot of acquisition, and that let's say that Apple, we've heard for years, is trying to build the self-driving car. Mm-hmm. Well, how's that going? Mm-hmm. I mean, they have more money than, the Pope, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't seem like it's worked, but it's more likely that they're going to acquire the pieces to that and then bring them in. Yeah. Because again, can they be the best at the world at building a self-driving car when their real core competency is in just sort of like beautiful hardware, for consumers? Is that their core competency? Are they going to be able to convert their business model into that and be the best at it? Probably not. But if they find somebody who's the up-and-comer, and acquire them, then maybe they can do it. I mean, they have credit cards. Apple has a credit card. Do you have an Apple card?
No.
Me either. Why?
I don't know.
Shouldn't they be the best at that? But
well, so I remember an old documentary about Apple, or maybe it was a Steve Jobs documentary, or maybe it was in his book. But somebody says, Apple is a engineering company. That's what they are. They're the best at engineering. They just happen to have products, right? I think that's kind of like, so, you take, for instance, like you, right? Are you going to be the best at selling lumber? Who knows? But you could be the best in our market at customer service, right?
Or relationship building.
Relationship building, yeah. And that's the lens you kind of have to look at. And what we tend to focus on is the tangible product that's being provided to us.
Yeah. No, I think that's right.
The chicken fingers, if you will.
Well, and listen, there's some incredible chicken fingers. I worked at Canes for a little while, and it was a great experience. This was back in 2009, 2010.
So you can have him. So you can reach out to. Is it Todd?
Todd.
Yeah, you can reach out to him. We're starting 2 campaigns this episode. Right. We want Todd. And how often do you think he passes through Shreveport?
Probably not. I think the whole corporate thing moved to Dallas.
Okay.
Back then.
Well, even closer than Baton Rouge. So
there you go.
Even easier for him to come over.
But I can make the sauce. Like if you gave me a big drill.
Oh, really?
With a, big attachment, I can make you a 5-gallon bucket of that sauce.
Oh, you not like go to your kitchen now and get the ingredients and make it. You're saying you can make it if you were in the restaurant.
Well, no, I mean, if you gave me if we went out and bought the ingredients and I had a bucket.
But I'm saying the ingredients?
Yeah.
Okay. You get close to it?
I did. I can't talk about it.
We'll say, if he doesn't come on here, we're sharing the recipe.
We're going to leak it. All right. It's blackmail. This is a much better way to get people on.
Yes.
I think he's shaking in his boots right now. He's so worried about it.
Yes.
But back to that story of the hedgehog and Canes, which is what a great example.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, there's like whispers of, we're going to get a dessert. That was how many years ago?
Yeah.
That was dessert. Like 16 years ago.
No dessert.
Still no dessert.
Yeah. I still don't, and we'll wait till he comes on. But I still don't understand why they're hanging on to that coleslaw. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm with you.
How many 70-year-olds are out there eating Canes?
You know? Man, that's such a good question. Couldn't we find something else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Something else yellow.
Yeah. Well, I think that's healthy. That's their healthy.
But it's
the cabbage.
It's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, look, we'll have him on. We'll ask him.
We'll pin him up on the wall.
We'll ask him. You think of like other things like that, because like I think of Chick-fil-A too, right? I think they're the best in the world at having a clean environment.
Absolutely.
Like you go in and you're like, this place is clean.
Absolutely.
Right. And they're the best in the world at that.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's kind of you just really have to investigate that one little thing within your organization you can be the best at. Yeah. Right. And so like I'm thinking on my plumbing company, I think, I was thinking this the other day just driving, and I'm like, why can't we be the best in the world at tankless hot water heaters? And like, let's make that our thing. Instead of saying, hey, we do all of plumbing, let's like focus on one thing and just drive that home. Yeah. This is what we're the best at, most knowledgeable at.
That's really, really powerful point. As I was talking to this coach that I'm kind of interviewing to bring in for this venture that we're working on, one of the things he said right off the bat was, he goes, because marketing, you have to make choices in marketing. And marketing is spending money to tell people who you are and what you do, but you have to make choices. And what happens is a lot of people make the message too broad in terms of what they can do. And for me, that's a real problem.
Yeah.
I've got 44,000 SKUs in my store.
Yeah.
I got 44,000 different marketing messages I could tell you. And the problem for me is to say, okay, what is the most cohesive thing that instead of having, 20 eggs in 20 baskets, I want 20 eggs in one basket or two baskets. And I want to be able to spend my money so that you connect me to this thing instead of, oh, they do this. Oh, they do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I think that's what this whole conversation is about. The hedgehog thing is just simplicity. Right. And we just have so much going on and say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
44,000 SKUs and no toys yet.
We've had some toys. Okay.
I'm thinking like the little monster trucks, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen, look, we'll let you review the product category and just let you make the selections.
Okay. Tractors.
We'll see how it goes. I look forward to your letters.
Yeah.
But
I think that's it. Simplicity. And that's what I'm kind of this journey I've been going on the past 6 months is how can I simplify what I'm doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But I think it trickles down to simplifying your team, simplifying, your mission, simplifying the numbers you're tracking. It's really just this simplicity.
And for me, it's simplifying your focus. I ran a store for 10 years and now I kind of manage the 3 store managers. And I'm able to talk to them and say, here's what I got wrong. Here's, I can see it now very clearly. Like I was just in it and I was doing it every day and I wasn't, I didn't have this perspective, but here's what I got wrong. Every day I should have looked at these 3 things every day, no matter what.
Yep.
And I got caught and blown by the winds of the day. And I ended up putting this fire out over here or dealing with this person's deal over here or doing this.
It's the whirlwind.
But every day I should have really pressed down on these 3 things.
And what are they?
For me?
Yeah.
We'll
share?
We'll get into inside baseball. So we have a cashier's process. And so we want our cashiers to not be robots, but to go through these 7 steps with everybody that comes to the counter.
Yes.
And so audit that, make sure that is being done well, coach it, lead it well. Secondly would be what we call QC our deliveries. So every delivery that we make is pulled, but then it needs to be QC'd by someone different. That's got to happen every single time. That one little thing goes, it's miles of benefit on it. And then lastly, which may seem strange to people, but we take in a lot of product every day. And so when these products come in off the truck, we receive them. And to receive them, we take the paperwork and make sure that what it says is what's on that truck. And so I want to make sure that we're really taking that seriously because that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
You pull the wrong thing off, you are screwed all the way down the chain. So let's take these 3 things. If you're going to look at something today, there's a few others, but we've been really focusing on those 3 things.
Yeah.
You can concentrate on lots of things.
Yeah.
You can spend your time in a million different foxholes.
Yeah.
But what is going to give you the best return on your operations?
Yeah. It's funny. I have a manager who's been with me a long time. And in my coaching session yesterday, we came up with 3 things that he needs to be looking at every day. And so it's pretty funny. But yeah, so it was kind of birthed out of this, like having your pulse on, like, if you could boil these 3 things down, and it really is one of those questions, like what indicator should we be looking at? And that is going to kind of be the barometer of, are we moving in the right direction?
Yeah.
Or are we about to have trouble? Right. Yeah. So, and I haven't had this conversation with him yet, so I'm just going to tell him to listen to the podcast. So save me a meeting. Right. But no, so what I want him to do is look at revenue daily, right? Daily. And we do look at it weekly, but I think we need to be looking at it daily.
Okay.
Revenue, professionalism on the team. Right.
So underrated.
Oh yeah. So appearance.
Yes.
Being on time.
Yes.
The conversations that are happening. Respect.
Are you
sense of professionalism?
Are you like hitting the bong on the job in the person's living room? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can we just leave that in the van?
Yeah. So professionalism. And then the third one, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it, but it's kind of like this, are you building the people around you up or tearing them down? So you could say gossip, or you could say being kind of vindictive, or being like, well, that's not my job, or purposely letting someone, mess up.
Yeah.
Or, that sort of thing. So I don't know if that's like who's being a team player, or do we say gossip, or do we say, so I don't know what that third one is.
Well,
but that's kind of what
I'll say this. I think that's the hardest one of the three you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Because, some of that is immutable within people.
Yeah.
Some people are just naturally, stirring stuff up. Right.
Oh yeah.
It's like the boat scenario that I heard about employee engagement, where you've got, the top 15% are at the front of the boat rowing their heart out. Most people are in the middle. Then you got a few in the back that are just trying to sink the boat.
Oh yeah.
And what you hope is that the people at the front can just bring a few up to where they are.
Yeah.
Because that's human nature. Like we all fit within that, what do they call it? Bell curve or whatever. Yeah. And that's the hardest part.
Yeah. And so then as a leader, it's like, well, what indicators let me know that there's someone trying to sink the boat? And, and I don't want to be like, I hate feeling like micromanaging or being like policing the company type thing, right? But when you hear conversations or something's out of line or out of character for someone, or something gets back to you that something was said, like it just has to be addressed. And we don't want to address it a lot of times. We want to avoid it. Oh, well, they were just having a bad day. We won't say anything about it, but it has to be. Right. And so, yeah, so and when I avoid addressing things like that, really ultimately it comes down to this idea of fear for me. It's like, well, I address this, they're going to go off the rails and leave the company. Yeah. Right. And so you just ignore it.
Afraid of the conflict.
Yes. And then it snowballs. Right. So anyways.
Well, the circle is what can we be the best at? What are we encoded for? But man, that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to say, you want to be the best at something. That doesn't just naturally occur. You may personally be that talented and gifted, but the people around you may not be. And so to lead the charge in what can we be the best at is tough.
Well, wouldn't asking that question bring to light maybe some people need to be removed from the bus?
Absolutely.
Or change a seat on the bus?
Absolutely.
Or added,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I think, man, listen, I'm very loyal to the people that work with us. But I do think that one of the blind spots is sometimes we hold on too long.
Yeah.
And these are people who are not helping us in our mission, in our goals.
And that's what it's always easy to fire someone when they've been stealing money. They like, it's just like obvious, like, oh, hey, look at the screenshot, what they were saying about you. Like, okay,
Yeah.
So but when someone is just not the right fit, and it's not any fault of theirs really.
Right.
But there's no urgency or there's no skill set to do this. And so then what you want to be the best at will never happen with that person. That's difficult.
It is difficult. And it's difficult to lead people in that. It's difficult to let go people in that. We've dealt with a little of that here lately.
Well, and as an owner, it's like, well, I let this person go. It's just going to cause me more work until I find a replacement. And then I got to train them. And so you just kind of put up with it.
Yeah. It's short-term fear. And I talk about that with our managers too. I say, listen, if you've got a decision that you need to make, but you're avoiding it because of short-term pain or short-term fear, your life will be so much better on the other side. You just got to get through it.
Yeah.
You just got to get through the tough spot. Yeah. Once you do, life will improve. Yeah. You'll feel better about it. You'll be happier to come
instantly.
to work. Yes.
And what you find out is the whole team around you feels better because they probably all have the same feelings.
100%. Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, good stuff. What's our timer at? Let's talk about our sponsors.
Yep, it's sponsored time.
Let's see. We have I have a note on my phone. I got to find it. Priority Roofing, locally owned, family-ran business specializing in residential, commercial roofing, repairs, replacements, dealing with insurance, dealing with, multiple trades that are involved with, roofing jobs. So they're a great company. What episode were they on? It just released. What episode number was that?
I don't know the numbers.
Okay. Well, go listen to Shay and Hannah they were on an episode. They're great, and you can hear more about them. So give them a call, 318-202-2123. Hannah, everybody that calls, she calls them her friend afterwards. So if you need a friend, call, and Hannah will likely answer the phone. If not, ask to talk to Hannah. Mm-hmm. She'll be your friend. Plumber for Hire, locally owned plumbing company specializing in residential commercial plumbing. No job too small, too big. Like I said, hey, they do great job at tankless hot water heaters. So 318-709-9090. Clint Davis Counseling, helping people make lasting internal change for external growth and success. They have multiple locations in Shreveport-Bossier area, 318-562-6903, or go to their website, clintdaviscounseling.com.
And lastly, Ivy's Building Materials, located in Mansfield, in Houghton, and now in Blanchard. We got 44,000 SKUs, people.
Yes. Yes.
We have been marketing out the idea of your treated lumber HQ, meaning we want to carry more sizes, a great variety, and we want to be able to serve you with it in our store or delivered to your location. So when you're thinking treated lumber or building a deck or building a pergola, we want you to think Ivy's, because we want to work with you. We want to deliver to you. Your treated lumber HQ, Ivy's Building Materials.
Your lumber is my house. I built my house with your lumber.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yes.
So, one cool thing maybe for you to do is to have a competition of who can buy the most SKUs. Keep track of it.
Who can buy the most?
Yeah.
You mean like customers coming in?
The most loyal customer buys one of every SKU.
Well,
what do you think?
I would take the next day off.
It's kind of like the ones that go and eat at all the Texas Roadhouses or all the what's the restaurant that's on the interstate with the rocking chairs?
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
Where you at?
The Cracker Barrel. So, what's funny is I've heard so many musicians say that's where they eat all their meals because it's like consistent, and there's one in every town on the interstate.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. You have to be a certain socioeconomic status to eat Cracker Barrel every meal. That's going to run up a tab.
I went, I think you just maybe one meal a day.
Okay, if you just do one meal a day, there you go. And you can get those biscuits and that cornbread.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, man. If you can make it to noon or 1 and just carb it up.
And most musicians at dinner are just drinking anyway. It's just that's all they're doing.
Yeah. So that I think we went there not too long ago with the whole family, and dude, it was like $60 or $70 for the whole family, 6 of us.
What'd you get?
It wasn't bad. What did I get? My wife likes the chicken and dumplings, and so does Carter. Okay. And so, in fact, Carter gets the chicken and dumplings, and for the sides, he gets more chicken and dumplings. I'm like, dude, how are you going to eat all that? It's like 3 bowls of chicken and dumplings.
Yeah.
I think that I got maybe some grilled pork chop type thing. It was really good.
Grilled pork chop.
Yeah.
Are you trying to go in there for like keto or vegetarian?
Yeah, I was probably on my ketoing it up.
Paleo or whatever.
I probably had some green beans and some good pork chops.
That's not on the front door when you walk in. It's like, hey, this is a paleo friendly restaurant.
Yeah, but any of them could be.
Do you like flour? Do you like sugar? Do you like butter?
Yes, it is tempting.
Yeah. I'm a fried chicken man myself.
Yeah.
I like the sawmill gravy.
Dude, let's go. Why don't we go more?
We could,
especially breakfast.
Yeah. Oh man, I love those rolls. I'm sorry, the biscuits. The biscuits are fantastic.
The cornbread.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey, let's have them on.
All right.
Cracker Barrel. Mr. Cracker. Barrel. What a day. All right, man. Now we're getting goofy. All right. See ya.